Alrighty, welcome to episode 1 of the DPSN broadcast. My name is Becca Wolfe. I am producer, founder, and now commentator alongside JC Wolfe, who, yes, we are related. It is my little brother. And Shane Coleman, that's kind of alongside the ride. So we are here to kind of give you a recap of what has happened this past week in Deer Park Athletics, as well as kind of preview what is coming ahead for the upcoming week. To start off, though, if you've been listening, you can kind of tell that there is a commentator that is what we call the main commentator for each sport, and there is a reason behind it. So for football, we have Shane Coleman as the main commentator with JC Wolfe going alongside him. They flip-flop for soccer. JC is the main and Shane helps us out. Whereas volleyball, there's going to be days where I'm going to be the only one. Shane and JC may come help me out at some points. But again, there's a reason behind it. So Shane, go ahead and talk to us about your kind of background in football.
Yeah, I've been playing football. I played starting in 6th grade. Don't hate me. Started out playing for Finneytown. Played Finneytown football. I was part of the first class of the Finneytown Lil Cats. Then I played 7th and 8th grade for Finneytown Middle School. Then in high school, I transferred to Roger Bacon, and I played all 4 years at Roger Bacon as our starting left guard my senior year. Ended up going to Mount St. Joe to play there. Played my freshman and sophomore year before I destroyed my hamstring. And I've been broadcasting for the last 2 or 3 years. I think 2019 was the first year that I did broadcasting. Started working for Waycross Community Media, started doing basketball, and then that kind of turned into my sport, and then we kind of started doing football and occasionally doing baseball, and yeah, I ended up getting to Deer Park. I interned here a year ago, I think, and just one thing led to another, and yeah, I'm at DPSN now.
All right, JC is our main commentator for soccer, so he is going to go ahead and give us his background in the realm of soccer.
So I guess I'm going to keep up the pace of Shane here. We're going to go back to my young days. I grew up in Eastgate when I was a small child. So started out just in rec. I didn't last very long in rec. We realized that the game was a little too slow for... it wasn't a challenge for me. So I took the steps into the club level. Probably, you can correct me if I'm wrong since you're my older sister. I want to say it was about 7 to 8 years old. I branched off into the club level. I've played 4. I don't think any of them are still around right now. My first club team was called Legit Team Cincinnati. I played there for probably about 4 seasons, so 2 years. And then I branched to the Classics, which I think right now they're just Hammer FC.
They're the Kings Hammer FC. They combine with Kings.
Oh yeah, I played for them, and then I played for Beachmont, which I know they disbanded. I don't even know what they became. And then yeah, just played high school here. Played for 4 years. A little subtle flex. I was part of a 10-win season, and that was my senior season. A blast. And then, my sister runs this, so I was made to join.
Oh, yes. It's all a family affair. You come up here, and sometimes you've got Jamie running the camera, also helping with commentating here and there. So definitely a family affair. You used to see my parents out at the ticket booth when you came in. So my little background in volleyball, I first got exposed to volleyball when I was in kindergarten. Again, just like JC, we grew up in Eastgate, but we also went to a private school. So I got invited to the last home game for 8th graders. And I remember looking at my parents and telling them I want to play this. Had to wait until 3rd grade and then played from 3rd through 7th all the way at our private school. And after 7th grade, I actually thought I was done. We were transferring to Sycamore in 8th grade. It moved from a winter sport to a fall sport for me, and didn't know how that was going to work because just like JC, I was playing very competitive soccer at the time. Decided to try out for the 8th grade team, made the 8th grade A team over at Sycamore. Again, that season was tough because it was my first losing record in volleyball, like ever. So it was a little bit of a humbling experience. And then again, I thought my career was done. Took freshman year off. I actually played soccer at Deer Park for my freshman year and decided I missed volleyball too much. So I played from my sophomore year to my senior year. And just like JC, a subtle flex, the team my junior year for the longest time was considered the best, one of the best to come through. We won some tournament games, had a very solid team. Casey Burling, who is about to get inducted into the Hall of Fame, was our setter that season, and we just all clicked. And then I went off to college, came back, got offered the 8th grade coaching job here at Deer Park. Coached here for 5 years. I had 8th grade for primarily at the time, and then JV for a year, and then 7th grade. And the year I had 7th grade, which was the COVID season, I actually helped out with our JV and our varsity as well. So that's a little bit of a background for us. So now we're going to go back to Shane, who is going to start us off with kind of talking about, our football team real quick. We're not going to go super duper much into detail due to, obviously, there is the coaches show, which goes into a lot more detail with Calvin Johnson. But Shane, go ahead and give us a recap from either just Western Hills or Western Hills and Purcell, and kind of some key things to look for as we take on New Miami this coming Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Wildcats are still searching for win number 1 in a young season. They've been close in both games. Both of them were one-possession losses. Purcell was the 16-8 loss. And then last week, obviously, we had the 20-14 loss to Western Hills. Some things that we need to look for, though. Kendall Luckett had that big kick return for a touchdown that really kind of sparked the team for a few drives. Cam Gilreath had 2 fumble recoveries. Aiden Mosley had a big day on defense. So we're going to need those guys to come up big. May need to get the passing game a little more involved because it takes the running game a little bit to get going. So you might need to get that play-action passing game going a little bit more. New Miami, they had a bye last week, so they're 0-1 coming off of a loss to Gamble Montessori back in week 1, 36-6. New Miami, I don't really know a whole lot about them per se. I know they're kind of one of those hit and miss kind of teams where they're either really, really good or they're not as good. I played ball with a couple of guys from there in college. They are pretty passionate about football, and they've usually got some big dudes. So it'll be an interesting game.
So a little backstory on New Miami. We actually played them couple years ago. It was one of Calvin Johnson's first couple years, and we beat them pretty bad. And their AD at the time was like, let's get out of this contract. They didn't want to face, Nori Johnson again and that kind of a thing. It was quite a few years ago. We played out there, and it was kind of brutal from what I understand. This was before I started helping out in the athletic office and with social media. So to give JC a little bit of time, I'm going to go ahead and give a recap for volleyball. JC says me and Shane got the short end of the straw because we just have one team to kind of go off of. He's got 2. And has played in more games than what we're dealing with. So volleyball comes in, new coach, brand spanking new team with only a couple girls with some varsity experience, as we lost quite a bit of seniors. That senior group last year I had coached since they were in 7th grade, and they had been fixtures on the varsity team for quite some time. Haley Rowland, Cabria Thurman Hill, Audra Nolan were fixtures for 4 years. And now we come in, fresh set of girls. Still some girls that have some varsity experience. We got Ariana Johnson, who is the younger sister of Nori Johnson. Last time we really saw her play like a good chunk of games was her sophomore season, and she was like a younger version of Cabria Thurman Hill. Can block, can bring the energy, has those kills. Jaden Steely has been a fixture on varsity for quite some time, but the one position that is brand new for the Wildcats this year is the setter position. So Royce, was the main setter for a couple years, and now you've got a combination of senior Jaden Carter and freshman Grace Loudon, who will be looking to lead the Wildcats. First year varsity head coach, I have to say, Megan Beach will look to them quite a bit. So far this year, they had a tough loss against Norwood from 3 sets to none. 25-15, 25-15, then 26-24. What that shows us is they are going the right direction, that they can build and stay in some games. Some stats for that kind of stick out is in her first varsity game, we had Grace Loudon get 13 assists, which an assist in volleyball is any kind of overhead set that leads to a kill. As well as we had another freshman, Abby Pettyjohn, get 3 kills in her first game, which that just falls right behind senior Jaden Steely for the most for the game. And then Jaden Steely had 10 digs in this game. When you look at the highest for digs, you look at the libero, which is sophomore Reagan Osborne, who comes back. She had 9 in the game, so definitely a great defensive effort in the first game. Haven't heard too much about the game that took place tonight against Reading, but I'm excited to see them this upcoming Thursday against Taylor. I think Taylor is not ready for what this new look Wildcats are going to be able to bring. So that leads us to JC, who is, Shane and I will help him a little bit. He's going to talk with both men's and women's soccer. Little side note, he's got some insider information on the men's soccer team. He is really close with the 2 Wallet coaches. So he's got a little bit of insider. So he's going to be giving us some insider information every so often. And maybe we can get one of them to come up on the show. So, JC, take it away.
Well, kind of weirdly, I'm going to do what society says is best. And I'm going to talk about the ladies first. And you can't really talk about Deer Park soccer right now on the girls' side without mentioning Lauren Heglin. She is on the doorstep of 2 records. She did score this Saturday at Dayton Christian. So now she is 4 from breaking, I believe.
5 from breaking, 4 from tying.
I think that's what it was.
It was 5 and 6.
Okay, well, and this is awkward. When you guys spoke, no one said a word, but just gonna. But all right, so the season has been. I don't want to say it's been easy, but they haven't really been battle tested yet. I can't speak for the Felicity Franklin game, but that was a 5-1 win, and the Lauren Heglin show really started with 4 goals. Much of the same with Purcell and Mount Healthy. I have been real excited to watch freshman Rachel Walker play. I got that first name right this time, right?
Yes.
All right. Which anybody that's followed Deer Park for years, you usually have that stable production in the midfield. And that goes as far back as I can remember. But yeah, they did take their first loss of the season Saturday. They did lose to Dayton Christian 4-1 in their first game of a very long road trip. So it won't be a lot of DPSN coverage from them this next couple weeks. Speaking of my insider information, Matt just texted me asking me what I thought about the game today on the boys' side. But yeah, I mean, the girls to watch, I mean, you got goalie Elizabeth Watson. She's in her 4th year, and she actually has a record. She has 1 record, 2 records?
2.
Which
Saves, career shutouts, as well as career saves.
So definitely this last class has been some record breakers here. But when you've been the goalie for 4 years, you're going to pile up some saves. Kylie McCormick covering the middle, and Sarah Hyatt controlling the defense. Pretty much from what I've been able to see, it's been a combo of Hyatt and McCormick controlling the defensive side, and then you got Walker and Heglin putting goals up. It's going to be interesting to see how CHL play goes. There's been some state championship teams in the CHL in the last 4 years. But yeah, so be on the lookout. Lauren is on the road, I believe, for the next 4. I would really hope for her to break the record here, but if she doesn't break it, that means we're not scoring a lot. So go get that record. Now on to the boys. Not as many goals, but when you don't have the Heglin effect, that's gonna happen. The boys are off to a pretty good start on themselves as well. Both teams are 3-1 right now. The boys are led by Robbie Fisher, Levi Troxel. They got some sophomore leadership with Colin Schneeman. The boys are kind of harder because I played, so I don't really analyze the game that closely because I watch it as a ex-player. But yeah, a pretty good start. Their schedule gets really grueling too as they start to open up CHL play. Spoiler alert, they just won today, which was against Reading, which is their first league win in 5 years. So yeah, that's really all I got.
JC, looking at the week ahead, what matchup for our soccer teams are you most interested in either seeing the result because it's away and obviously we're going to be here, or to cover for a home game? And obviously, Shane, you've only got 1 game, so that's the game you're the most excited about. And I'll do the same thing for volleyball. So take it away, JC.
Boys only have 1 more game this week.
Well, you can go into next week.
Okay, well, Tuesday the 6th against Taylor will be given that call. Taylor, in my 4 years, was that one team that we kind of had their number. So I'll be looking to see one as ever since I graduated, Taylor stepped up. They've actually competed very well. So to be honest, to see the boys get tested with their first... no disrespect to Reading. I don't really want to be disrespectful, but a first real test of the season. And for the girls, please hold. I have to look at the schedule. So Shane, take it away for football, please.
I mean, you got New Miami, obviously the only game we have coming up this week for football. Looking at the stats, I'd love to see Kendall Luckett get a few more touches. I mean, he's one of the key guys on this team. Really need to get him going. I mean, he had the big kick return for the touchdown, but didn't get a whole lot of touches, didn't get a whole lot of yards. I mean, Jay-Sean Denson, he did a great job running the ball, had over 80 yards, led the team in rushing last week. Love to see him with his big stature going through there, finding a hole, maybe get a big Metro bus touchdown. Just getting Brandon Anderson going a little bit and getting Jace Parsons going throwing the ball. So we'll see if we can get that first W against the Vikings this week.
I know for me, for both football and girls soccer, I'm looking forward to those Reading matchups. Mm-hmm. Reading tomorrow for girls. If you've never been to a Deer Park Reading game, you are missing out. We have nothing home here at Deer Park. This is going to get released the day of the game. So if you have nothing to do, get over to Reading tomorrow. Cheer on our girls. It is always, always, always a good battle. And then for football, that game was close last year, and both teams have lost some key pieces. Ex-Deer Park wide receiver Casey Hinton is gone from Reading. Of course, we lose Nori Johnson. And it's going to be exciting to see how this, hopefully, starts the CHL schedule off right. We're over at their place. I plan on being there with the coverage. I will not be at New Miami, not making that drive. So, JC, go ahead, and I know you want to touch on the girls soccer matchup against Reading, because that is your game to watch as well.
Well, yeah, you kind of stole my thunder. Kind of a low blow. I'm mainly watching because if you check out the league leaders in points, 4 out of the top 5, I might not be incredibly correct there, but that's a lot of point getters. Of course, Heglin's like way ahead of everybody else with how many goals she has already. But there's the Simpson sisters on the Reading team that have seemed to just split all the stats in half. And so, yeah, so it's mainly, you should see a lot of goals. I don't think it's going to be a 2-1 game. I'm thinking more like 6-5, 7-5, somewhere around there. Of course, I got the Cats winning because that's what we do here. And I'm actually going to highlight the Wyoming game as well because that's their first game back off the road trip. And those are always fun to cover because you get to see how much that road trip has changed the team. Did it bring them closer together? Did it split them up a little bit? Were they wheeling and couldn't get a win? Or were they just riding high and now they get to play at home? So since you stole my thunder on that, I will piggyback on the Wyoming game.
Alrighty, so looking ahead at the volleyball schedule coming up, obviously, they played Reading today, very close match. I know it at least went to 4. We've got Taylor on Thursday, and then we are on the road both days next week. We are at Wyoming, which is always a tough matchup, and at Marymount. I'm going to highlight that at Marymount game because that game is always close. We have played them for our senior night for a couple years, and it typically is, a great game, a lot of energy. I'll have to look at the schedule. If, we have nothing else, I will probably take a trip over to Marymount, which is 5 minutes away from our house, to see that game. So any last final kind of words before we sign off?
I mean, I really think, and this is just me as a former offensive lineman, O-line really needs y'all to start stepping it up a little bit, get that running game going a little bit, and we should be absolutely fine. You got some great running backs in the backfield. Just tough it up front, and we can turn this season around, boys.
JC?
I'm going to go a little bit more lighthearted and kind of outside the lines. I want to give the 2 people here sitting at the table some credit. You guys stick through. I'm a wild card. I like to claim you have no idea what you're going to get from me at any given time. You 2 roll with the punches pretty well. So thanks for making my time covering these games as fun as they can be. And yeah, Deer Park, just keep putting up wins and we'll have more positive things to talk about.
All right, and to the volleyball ladies, I am sorry we missed today's game. I am excited to start seeing you guys again. I know I stepped away for about a year, but I am excited to see how much you guys have grown this year with Megan Beach as your coach. Heather Sauerbeck is still there, and she's always going to be around. But, excited to see you all on Thursday. And with that, we are going to sign off with episode 1. Going into next week, if you guys have any questions for any of us here, go ahead and tweet at us. It is at DPSN_Wildcats. You can send me an email. It's wolf.b@dpccsd.org. Or you can find us on Facebook under the Deer Park Sports Network and shoot us a message or comment on, this episode when we release it. And other than that, we will see you next week.
Yes, please ask questions. Makes it easier.